today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how I cover up any acne marks that I have. So you can see on my face, I'm breaking out a little bit on my cheeks, a little bit through the forehead. This isn't terrible, but I normally don't get a lot of acne. There's even some on my chin. Some of that's clearing up though. So let's dive right in. First, I'm going to start with the Bella Ora Rapid Repair Clarifying Elixir. This contains micro silver to help treat the acne without drying it out. It's very, very hydrating and moisturizing for the skin. I love Bella Ora and I can't recommend them enough. So I apply this to my face and I put it all over, and I really try to concentrate on the areas that I do have some of my marks and acne. I really try to press that in and make sure that it's well coated and covered so it gets that treatment. This is great underneath makeup. It layers really well with everything else. You don't have to worry about your makeup sliding around. Next, I like to go in with a moisturizer on top of that. This one is by Therapeutics, and this is the Nurture Plus. This is also really lightweight and great for underneath makeup. And I try to make sure to apply this all over my face and onto my neck. I think it's so important to make sure that you care for the skin on your neck, just as well as you do on your face. So there we have it, a little bit glowy. Just press that in a little bit more. That way we have a good base for our makeup. So I like to start underneath my eyes with a little bit of concealer. This is by Fitglow Beauty. I like this one a lot. I'm not doing a ton of covering on my acne marks, and I'll show you why in a minute. I'm just doing a little bit on that one that's a little bit darker than the rest. And now I just press it in with my fingers. This gives a really nice skin-like finish, which is kind of what I'm going for today. I don't want to do anything that's going to exaggerate the texture that's going on with this mark that I have, as well as some of the other ones that I have as well. The main key for today is really to just kind of mattify everything. I don't want anything overly shiny and drawing more attention to the texture that's happening on those areas. I tend to drag this down on my cheek a little bit too, just to blend it out well. Next, I go in with the Alima Pure Satin Matte Foundation. This is in Warm 3. It's very golden and it looks really nice on my skin tone and warms it up just a little bit. The goal here this first time is using a flat brush to go in. You can see it mattifies just a little bit. But basically, I want to lay down a base coat all over everything just to smooth and even everything out before we really go in and focus on those problem areas. This is with the Sonia Kashuk flat top brush, and I really like this one. I don't have issues with it throwing bristles onto my face. It picks up a good amount of product, and it's actually pretty easy to clean. Sometimes these flat top brushes can hold on to a lot of product no matter how much you try to wash them out. I also like to go around my eyes, especially with this powder. It helps to cancel out any of the bluish or purple tones that kind of happen with the veins in your eyelids. I like this formula because it's really gentle, so it's not going to further exacerbate any problems that I'm having with my skin. There's no oils or anything that's going to irritate my skin. That's my whole focus whenever I'm breaking out like this, is to really care for my skin and try not to do things that are going to upset it even more. Powder foundations are fantastic for this, and this one in particular, like I mentioned, is more on the matte side and not super shimmery. So you can see I still have that mark peeking through. So what I do is I take a very fine pointed brush and I pat more of the powder foundation starting on the center where the mark is, and then I use the fluffier side of this duo-ended brush to buff it around the edges into the skin. You can see when I go in on this one, I start in the center, pat, swirl, dab. I really press into the skin because it doesn't move the product around as much. using little stippling motions, and then I drag it out further around. And then go in and diffuse. I like this method when I have a breakout like this, sometimes a little bit more than using a liquid or a cream foundation and concealers. I find that, especially with this powder foundation and I've moisturized, it really melts into the skin nicely. I also like to use my fingertips just to kind of melt that in a little bit further with my moisturizer. It gives a more natural finish. I think a lot of times people are so hard on themselves when they break out, but the truth is, I think most people do at some point or another. And I've just found this particular routine works really well for me to conceal everything. If you have a lot more acne, this might not work for you. However, if you do have a couple blemishes, trying this powder foundation is a great thing to do. And also, I think even if you have more acne than I do, you can definitely use the tips that I throw out here as far as mattifying the texture rather than making it luminous and shiny and drawing more attention to it. Next, I'm going in with the Sappho New Paradigm blush in the shade Emma. It's kind of a peachy pink color. I really like this one, especially for fall. It's a little bit warmer than the shade Hazy, which I also really love. And you'll notice I'm just patting that on. I'm not swiping it across the skin, and especially on this side, I tend to go around that little acne mark before just dabbing a little bit of color over it. It's already got some pigment to it, even though we've covered it, and I also don't want to push the product off of it and uncover it. Next, I'm going to set my face. I've already completed the rest of my makeup at this point. And even though I've used a mineral powder foundation, I still tend to get a little oily through my T-zone, so I'm going back under my eyes and on my forehead and my nose and my chin to just mattify that out. This is the Honest setting powder. I love this one. It's incredibly matte. It doesn't feel dry or tight, and it really helps my makeup to stay in place, which is so important for this type of look where I'm using some coverage. So that's today's final look. Let me know what you think of this video. If you would try something like this or if you have worked on it, please subscribe.